just to reiterate, it's live microphone.
Yeah, Steve, hi. You've been written off. You continue to be written off, but how are you feeling ahead of this huge task, taking on the Springboks in the World Cup semi-final?
I think we're all really looking forward to it, and I think our supporters are looking forward to it. The players are looking forward to it. I hear about tens of thousands of people coming across this game in Paris. It's brilliant. We're here in Paris. The first time the England team's got here through this tournament. I think there's a special atmosphere, there's a special feeling around being in Paris ahead of this semi-final.
Can those England fans make it like a home game for you in the Stade de France?
Our supporters have been incredible for us from that first game of the tournament all the way through. And from what I was told post-game last week, the fans all came down to the front, all came down to the pitch side. They were loving it. And I hope that every one of them is going to come over and cheer this team on. He's going to have a great weekend this weekend.
You will be major underdogs. Can you use that in your favour?
Well, we've concentrated very much upon us. It's what we've done every single week. How do we develop and how do we progress as a team? And I think that's the central thing. I think this team has progressed. Through each week we've had through this tournament, we've built and we've built and we've built, and whatever situation the players have found themselves in the game, is the players have found a way to get the result they want at the end of it. And we know this weekend's going to be is different. Every game is different, but I also know we've got a great group of players who care deeply about representing England and want to make sure they put in a performance they're all proud of and our supporters are proud of on Saturday night.
And how big is the belief that you can do this, you can pull this off in the camp?
Yeah, I think there is always belief that's strong in this team. And I've sensed that all the way through since I've got involved again with this team. There are players that have performed at the very highest of levels. Players who played knockout rugby, finals rugby before. And I think they can't wait for this occasion, epitomised by the man next to me, who just in the biggest of occasions, in the big atmosphere, the big stadiums, he performs, as so many of our boys do.
3 changes to your team. Can you talk us through your thinking?
Yeah, I think there's a few factors in it, and as ever I go through the selection process, the rigour that I put to that in terms of how we wish to play, what we need to do, the strengths, the opposition, the opportunities on the pitch, assess all the players, cognizant of the travel we've had, the 6-day turnaround and what we needed to do. And I think we're blessed here with a fantastic group of players, the strength in depth, competition for places, and so I decided to make some changes between the starting team and the bench, and I think that the players are relishing the challenge ahead.
Was Marcus Smith fit and available, or was that decision made for you by the HIA?
No, Marcus was unavailable for selection due to the return to play protocol.
And George Martin, what qualities does he bring? You know him very well.
Yeah. I've known him for a few years now, from a very young man to seeing somebody now who looks at home on the international stage. He's come onto the pitch as second row and 6 in this tournament. He's started a game earlier in the tournament in the pool stages, and every minute he's been on the field, he has performed. And he's performed in some big moments as well, as I'm sure you relate, at key moments for the team. He's a young man who just embraces getting onto the pitch and giving everything he can for the team. A real team man.
Is he a big hitter? Does he embrace the physicality?
I think the players across the board understand that that's the nature of international rugby. It's a physical game, and we play against the number 1 side in the world this weekend. And we know that the intensity of this test match is going to be incredible. And I think that's why we're looking forward to it, and all our supporters are looking forward to it.
Owen, 4 years on, can you use any of those memories, those scars, to motivate you this weekend?
This feels like a new challenge. This feels like a new opportunity. As you said, in 4 years, a lot happens in rugby. A lot happens in a week here. So. We're excited at the opportunity that's in front of us. We feel like we've obviously changed as a team. I imagine South Africa have feel like they've changed over 4 years as well. So we understand what task is in front of us, what a good team we're playing against, what a well-drilled team playing against. But we're excited to get out there on the field on Saturday. And
what can you take from that night in Yokohama? What did you learn, and what can you take into this game?
Well, as we said, that's a long time ago now. We've played each other a good few times since, and we're looking at what we can do here and now going into this Saturday.
Steve, in terms of the last 2 times England played South Africa, it's sort of 1-1. So is that another reason to have optimism for this? Because obviously a lot has happened in the 4 years since the last World Cup. So to sort of characterise it as a follow-on from that wouldn't be right, would it? Because obviously a lot of water's gone under the bridge for both teams in those 4 years.
And a lot has changed since the last time we played South Africa. There's a new coaching team in place here, so there's a number of players that at different times moved on now. And we're in a different context, and then we're in semi-final of the World Cup, and we know what a top quality side they are. You look at the way they have built, not just into 2019, but then post 2019 onwards over this 4 years. They've built, added layers to the game. They've kept a core of players together, and brought other younger players through and built their level of experience. So we know what a top quality side they are, and great coaching team. What it means for us is we've got to be really well prepared, but you've got to focus very much upon yourselves, and that's what we've continued to do this week.
And just on George, he strikes me that he's also very influential in the scrum in a similar way to Ollie as well. So is that another strength that he can bring to bear in this match?
The players, the front row boys, they always talking about what they're giving the second row some pretty direct feedback on how much weight they're giving. They're usually pretty positive about the weight George Martin gives. I think he's a young man, very athletic young man, but he is one that every challenge since I started working with him a few years ago, every challenge I've kind of put in front of him, or he's wanted in front of him, he's just embraced it and ripped right into it. So I'm looking forward to seeing him go. He's been played real well the minute to stand on the field through this tournament.
And Owen, what would your message be for the team for this match? Is there something that fairly simple that you could share with us that you'll kind of deliver to them in the final build up to this? Well,
we've just talked about embracing it, about trying to get the best out of ourselves in these occasions. It's not necessarily anything new, anything out of the ordinary. But as I said, as Steve's already alluded to, there's a lot of players in this team that know how to win big games, and we're looking forward to that opportunity on Saturday.
Yeah, hi Steve. You've talked about the importance of game management in this tournament to getting the team in the position to win a game, particularly in the fourth quarter. What's the specific challenge that South Africa posed to you, and how you embrace that, and particularly with the way they use their bench?
Yeah, so I think that the South Africa pose a great deal of questions in the game, a great deal of challenges, as you'd expect from the number one side in the world. I think they've got that traditional power, set-piece power that they've had for a long time. I think then their contestable kicking game is another great strength of theirs, and I think one thing they've layered to their game over these last 4 years has been their ball movement and to the speed they have on the edges. Now, that we're going to have to combat those things to make this a contest. They impose that upon the opposition, and then they also have a squad that is jam-packed full of power and size, so that that they've got a good team to start, and they've got players coming onto the bench who are very strong. I also think we've got a pretty strong team as well. I think we've got a pretty strong bench. We know it's a fantastic challenge against the number one side in the world. I think it's a challenge we're eager to get into.
And the changes you've made to the pack, particularly, is part of that a reflection of who you will have on the bench at a particular time in the game? Have you looked at that? Because you could have gone 6-2, but I don't know if it's the personnel, the players, their particular physical attributes at that moment in time.
So I considered all the permutations of it a 5-3 or a 6-2, and the other thing I consider, and this is much more now over the period of time, is understanding the 80 minutes. That you need to ensure that the importance, as we've seen in our most recent games, the importance of Q4, the importance, we saw that last week, we saw it the week before, so having the players that are on the bench, that are the right players to finish the game in the way you want to, and understand that you've got the players starting, the right players to start the game, and that's always the balance. I think then with that I'm always looking physically at where all the players are at, and I feel this is the right combination of players to start and players to finish to get the performance we need.
Steve, was it helpful, Razzie lending you a hand to pick your team earlier in the week?
You've lost me, I'm sorry.
Razzie Erasmus named your team on Tuesday for you, just as a little helpful hint and tip. You didn't see that.
Did he get it right?
No.
Okay.
So can I ask?
Sorry.
Yeah. No. So can I ask you about? You've already talked about George Martin specifically. Just Joe Marler starting ahead of Ellis today. You've given us some indication, but just talk a little bit more about the thought behind the loose head selections.
Yeah. I think we've got 3 brilliant loose heads in here in this squad. I think Ellis has been terrific, and I thought he played really well last week. I think Joe coming back into the squad after some time away has been also an incredible influence around the group. And we've got Bevan Rod as a younger player, but I would have no hesitation in Bevan being in the 23 this weekend. So it's a real competitive position. Going back to the previous question, for me it's always about the balance of who's to start and who's to finish, and understanding that we need an 80-minute performance. That's the start's crucial, the end is vital, and we understand that. And I think I'll say our bench, the performance of our bench through this tournament has been very, very good.
What I don't understand though is why you would necessarily start with Joe ahead of Ellis this weekend. Is Joe a better scrummager? Does Ellis offer more in the final quarter, as you call it? Give us an insight into that as much as you can. Yeah,
and I think both of these players are top quality scrummagers, and I think that's really important given the strength of the South African scrum. We know that they're rated as the best scrum in the world. Every piece of information has them as the best scrum in the world. So we know that we're going to need to scrum well throughout the game. And I felt not just at the loose head, but understanding the combinations of the 2 sets of front row forwards that we have. I think that's also important. As I thought Ellis was terrific last week. I think that Joe to start and Ellis to finish is the right combination this week.
Great, thank you.
Owen, you mentioned the big game players that you have in your squad, but for a few of the guys, this is going to be their first experience of a World Cup semi-final. So what words have you had for them, and what have you said to them about what semi-final week looks like and what to maybe expect Saturday night as they get to the stadium?
Well, it's not just from me. For a start, there's a lot of people with a lot of experience in the squad, and we're pretty open. We're pretty open here. We're pretty open with our experiences, open with how we're feeling going into this week. And what we try and do is get on the same page as a team and make sure we're on the same page so we can help each other out during the week and build into having a performance at the weekend. And there's a fair bit of excitement that comes with that.
Steve's touched on the kicking battle as well. You'll likely find yourself in the backfield alongside Johnny Elliott and Freddie returning. So how have you guys analysed South Africa's kicking threat, and how are you going to look to deal with it?
No, as Steve says, they're obviously that's been a massive weapon of theirs for years and years now. They've progressed it. They go a lot of contestable kicks, but not just off 9. They go across field quite a lot now, and they're lethal off turnover at times, going to kicks and getting the balls that are on the floor. And as you saw last week against France, scoring a good few opportunities off the back of that. So we've done our work. We've obviously come up with our plan to negate what we can from them, but also to be able to attack it ourselves.
Does Freddie returning just give you a bit more assurance in that area, given his reputation?
Well, I think the thing about Freddie is everybody knows how good he is in the air, and everybody knows what a fantastic player he is in general. But it's the want to do it, the want to be in those battles, the want to go and get the ball back for his team, the want to diffuse what's coming our way as well, and that's he's one of the best in the world at it, and that's the way I would be if I was him as well.
Steve. Hello. In the current rugby, it's not very common to watch Hooker playing 80 minutes per game. Jamie George did it during the 2 last game. Does it mean he's different, he's not human, or you don't trust Theodan, who are maybe too young for this kind of fight?
First I'll say is that Jamie always... Jamie's, the engine he has is phenomenal, and I know he's an incredible runner, so I know from a fitness point of view Jamie's always got 80 minutes, and I want all my players to be able to play 80 minutes, and it's whether I choose to play 80 or not. And I think one of the things that's not often talked about with Jamie is what a great leader he is. And I think we've got an excellent density of leaders within our squad. And I think there's been some moments in the last couple of games that he's been really influential, and from a leadership perspective as well as his own personal performance. And I felt the right thing to do to keep him on the pitch. But I'd want all my players to have the ability to play 80 minutes.
Hi, Steve. Could you just explain to us what happened with Marcus over the last few days? Was he ruled out yesterday, or was it earlier than that?
It was earlier. It was earlier in the week. He took the knock in the game, as you're well aware. He passed the first parts of the HIA process, which meant he finished the game, and then the subsequent parts of the HIA process, and one part of that he did not pass, and then it was confirmed to me he was unavailable for selection, and yeah.
Is he okay? Like, he's obviously disappointed to miss such a big game.
He's perfectly fine in terms of symptoms, and he doesn't feel anything, and to understand we'd expect him to be available for selection after this weekend.
There's been, after the South Africa played France, there was a little suggestion that South Africans might have been fiddling around with the HIA system and possibly trying to rest some of their players. Have you noticed that, or have you flagged that up to World Rugby, or are you concerned about that at all?
No, we've got a match officials team that's world class, led by Ben O'Keefe. I'm sure everybody around the pitch as well will be having every bit of process in place as would be. So there's no issues there from my perspective. I'll say again, from Marcus and the situation you got there, is just reiterating. It's right to reiterate that player welfare is critical and vital to us.
Owen articulated it well there about Freddie, but can you just put in your own words about what he brings from fullback? Obviously, you coached him at Leicester, and everyone has seen it, but what do you see when he's going for those high balls?
So, my first game coaching Leicester was going through the selection process, and this young man, Freddie Stewart, that I'd not known a huge amount before, but I'd known him from England under-20s, and he was new to the squad. I think he's just from school and out of the academy, and they come into the first game, and I'm deciding who to play at 15, and I didn't pick him. And post game, and I reflected on that selection process, as I said I do whenever I go through the rigour of the selection, and I thought to myself, it's a game, he's ready for this. And I watched his face when I told him he wasn't picked in that game in 2020, and I thought, this guy wants the challenge, this guy wants him, he's ready for it. Doesn't matter how old he is, he's ready for it. And straight away the next week, put him in, and from that point on, he has just been brilliant. Everything that's been challenged to, everything you ask him to get better at, he goes and gets better at. You saw him today. You'd have seen him straight out on that field trying to improve right from the start of the session, even before the session. He's working hard to improve as a player, always is, and that's great credit to him and his professionalism.
Was that our conversation last week? Did you see that same face of someone so disappointed to miss a quarter final?
Yeah, I think that every player wants to play, and I understand that. We've got a really competitive squad here. We've got 33 players that all want to play. And Marcus unfortunately was ruled out this week. We had 32 players otherwise fit and available for selection, and everybody wants to play, and that's a great sign about the health of this squad. That people are so desperate to play, and then if not selected, they go and help the team prepare, and that's exactly what Fred did last week, along with all the other players who weren't selected.
Martin, then Ian, then Chris, then Ron. Hi, Steve, over here to your right, just. Sorry. When Ben was in a few minutes ago, he said that you prophesied these games, that you predicted from that it might be South Africa. Is that right? And also, when did you sense that was going to happen, that things were going in the right track from your side's point of view?
Yeah. Well, I think before the tournament started, way back in July, when I talked to the players, I talked about what we can control, and I talked about the journey. I talked about the experience I'd had talking to other coaches from rugby and from other sports that had been to World Cups and how they'd approached it. And one of the big things is making sure that you build your team, make sure you continue to build the strengths of your team and how you want your team to play. You can't concern yourself about anybody else, and laid out the path of what we've got to do. And it was very clear that's the path we've got to do. And as I talk about the short-term nature of it has meant we've had to go and get stuck straight into building this team, and the players have embraced that and they've got on with building this team, and here we are today, a couple of days out from a World Cup semi-final against the world number one team, and what a position to be in.
Can I just quickly then ask you, as manager, coach, you as captain, what it will mean to send a team out to a World Cup semi-final, to lead a team out for a World Cup semi-final, the feeling, the emotion, the sense of, I guess, pride and camaraderie you have?
Yeah, no, it's obviously a massive honour. We've already talked about how the crowds have been building over the course of this tournament, and how much support we have coming out this weekend, and what that means to them. We've seen this team build over the past. When did we first get in now, Steve? Start of July. We've seen this team build, and it's been through a lot over that time. And as has already been said, and as you've just mentioned, we've got a fantastic opportunity in a World Cup semi-final on Saturday night. And as I said, it's a massive honour to walk out in there, and we want to embrace that challenge.
Question for Owen. You know very well the Stade de France, but you won't have the opportunity to train ahead the game. Is it a problem for you, I think, your kicking game?
No, it shouldn't be. No, we had the same case last week, and I'd never played at the Stade Velodrome before, so it's no different. So hopefully the posts are pretty similar. Yeah.
Steve, hi. What sort of Oh Christ, that's not good. I'll start again. Steve, hi. What sort of insight has Aled Walters managed to offer you this week, having been involved with the Box in 2019, about what their mindset is going into a game against England, their attitudes, just any little detail he can provide that's given you a little advantage?
Well, I think one of the really great things, and as I reflect on it, is that I managed to prize him away from the Springboks at the start of 2020, and join us at Leicester, and then now join us at England. So, as Owen's described, 4 years is a long time in rugby. 4 weeks is a long time in rugby. So I think they've changed. Whilst the coaching team has been consistent with Razi and Jacques and Felix, they've changed. So we understand that, and he's fully invested in helping us build our game.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.